today I am here with author Janet Benton, and I am so excited because we are going to be talking about her newest book, Lilli De Jong. And I loved this book so much. I can't wait to talk about it with you. But she has the hardcover. She's going to hold up and show it to us because I was listening to it and reading it on my Kindle. Look at that cover. Every time I kept looking, Janet, I kept going back and looking at the cover no matter what I was on because I love that cover so much.
Yeah, I do too.
And this, Janet, I cannot believe this was your first book, okay? This story is going to stay with me for a very long time. This is not a book that you think is like lighthearted reading and you're going to forget about it in 5 minutes. Like, it's just not going to happen. It really isn't. It's
That's exactly what I was aiming for, so I'm glad.
Well, I have never read a book about the 1800s in this area. We are both in Pennsylvania, and as much as I thought that I knew about this part of the country, I found out so much stuff. Your research was amazing. Okay, so here in my little area of Allentown, we didn't really have Quakers. Maybe we have Quakertown, which is closer to Germantown, but we have Moravians, and it's a lot the same. Okay, yeah. The religious, qualities of their life and everything was a lot the same. I grew up with a lot of people that went to the Moravian church, so I could relate to her in that way. But I still kept going back and looking at the date because as you were bringing things up about different medicines, different ways of their giving birth, I was like, what year are we in? What year are we in? I was shocked by how much medicine was available. I don't know why I was shocked, but I really was. And I wanted to know if you were shocked by that research too.
I guess medicine back then was much more based in plants.
Right.
And mercury and things like that, so it seems pretty, it seems like we have, I don't know if we've come a long way, but we've changed what we're doing now. So there are, certainly a lot more things available, a lot more drugs, a lot more surgeries, a lot more understanding of the body. At the time when this book was written, people didn't understand, they didn't know what germs were. They thought, bad air and such, and, bad influences would make you sick. And
Well, I don't give away any spoilers, so you will hear me just go around things, okay?
Yes.
because I really do. I want everybody to experience this the way I did. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to give anything too much away about it. And Lilli becomes an unwed mother for everybody, not knowing what the book is generally about. And I have to tell you that she gets put into this home where the girls go that are unwed mothers, and they give their babies up for adoption, right? But I knew before I even looked at anything about this book, I could tell that that was not going to be an easy thing for her. Right off the bat, I could just tell by her personality that giving up this baby was not going to be something that, some of them could do it and walk away. Not that it wasn't hard, but, a little bit easier than it was going to be for her personality. And I don't know why. I wish I could tell you why, but I don't know why. But the way you shaped her personality, I just knew right away this was going to be, a thing for her.
I think what I learned, one of the things I learned while writing the book, was that giving up a baby never goes away as a pain for mothers. So, whether you're reading about the 1700s or the 1950s, whether you're reading about the United States or South Korea or another country, it's not a wound that goes away. So what I think was different with Lilli was that she had been raised a Quaker and educated, because the Quakers educated male and female equally. And so she had the courage to think, well, since I know my infant's life is going to be at least as bad without me as it is going to be with me, maybe I'm going to honor this bond that we have and not let people force me into lying for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and the times that they were apart, I was feeling her pain.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
she was really trying to like comprehend what she was doing, and that she was going to make it better, and that she was, doing the right things. But then on the other hand, she was doing everything to go back and make sure she was okay. I mean, I was a young mother, and I've been a single mom on and off. I have 6 children, so different times of my life, I've been a single mom. And what always interests me about that, and you were a single mom too, but I get the statement quite frequently. We're like, "Oh, well, it was easy for you," and it's like, okay.
Interesting, yeah. I have not been a single mom. I'm actually married, but
I thought you were. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that I had heard that you were.
I'm glad that I was that convincing in depicting it, but it's not a difficult thing to imagine. I mean, it's, to me, the bond between a mother and an infant is just so extraordinary and profound. And anything that disrupts that bond, the fact that prejudice has disrupted and continues to disrupt that bond around the world is a travesty.
Absolutely. For everybody out there who thinks that's an easy thing, needs to read this book. Because I don't care what day it is, because those days had their hardships. Today has its hardships. It has never been
single mothers are the lowest paid category in this country.
Absolutely. And having been to court myself for it too, you're still looked upon as they will take you as, well, you can earn this. And it's like, well, I wish I could find me somewhere that I can earn that.
Yeah. And who's going to be there for my children?
Right. And just the fact that they already, it's like, well, we have equal rights. Yeah, but it's still not like I can go out and earn that, because I know first of all, I've been, my oldest son is 30, so I've been a stay-at-home mom for a very long time. So it's kind of a joke. I used to be a legal secretary, and that job doesn't even exist anymore. It's like for us moms who have stayed at home, we gave up that. We gave up that ability to earn money. And, she was even in a more, the fact that, you had her as a Quaker, she's educated. Okay. So that's good, because that helps her through a lot, to be educated in that time. But it's still I just kept feeling for her, because every time she turned around, it was like, okay. And I'm like, all right, she can do this. She can do that. I'm like, pushing her ahead to like, you can do this. And the thing that I took away from it, which I wanted to see if that was what you were kind of striving for, was that because there's a lot of religion in here. And the thing that, like she kept thinking that there were answers. Like something would happen and then she thought it was her answer. Okay. And then it wasn't her answer. So then something else would happen. And what I took away from that, being a Christian, reading it, is that what we, just because that wasn't it, every one of those things led her to what happened. Mm-hmm. So she never gave up hope. And it's the ones who can keep going. Like she thought, that certain times in the book, she was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This will work. And then it didn't work. And then this will work. And then it didn't work. But I was wondering if you were going for the ultimate, like she would have never been the person she was had the end result been the middle or the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted her to become strong and to become more self-reliant. In a way, this is a journey away from her childhood into adulthood. Right. And, for me and many people I know, and perhaps for you, I don't know how it could be anything else. Motherhood is a very transformative experience, right. And it strengthens you. You have to be strong to stand up for your children in the world. And so, and I think you also start to see the world very differently, because, hey, it isn't always so kind to babies and children, and even to a grown person who you love dearly, who came from your body, Right. So you start to want to make the world a better place, which is why, organizations like Mothers Against Drunk Driving and, women overseas demanding to find out what happened to their loved ones, why these things go on, because this is not a bond that stops. And so I want to just show how motherhood itself transformed her into a stronger person.
How long did it take you to write this book?
Well, it's I've guessed about 8,000 hours for writing and research. Yeah. It was over the course of about a decade, in which I was taking every bit of time I could get away from my family and my paying work to do it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Because I figured with the amount of research, what made you pick that time frame? Like you could have picked any time. There must have been something very particular that you liked about that time period.
Absolutely. First of all, I love Victorian novels from England and the United States.
Me too.
And also, I was interested, as I read, I thought, well, I don't really want this to be sort of about how, oh, look, we have electricity now, or telephone. I didn't want it to be like any later, because then I felt like it would be sort of about technological development too. And if it was any earlier, then I felt like it was less likely that these kinds of disruptions would be happening. I mean, in Philadelphia in the mid to late 1800s, people were pouring in from Ireland and Italy and Germany and England and elsewhere. So I thought that was an interesting time when, as opposed to earlier, you could kind of get lost in the crowd.
Right. Well, the earlier would have been the Civil War. That's what I liked about it. It was like between
go earlier and get too much into the Civil War. Exactly.
Yes.
It was like my sweet spot between this technological explosion and the Civil War behind, in the beginning, whatever. Yeah. So, and the other piece was, that I just wanted to put myself in a time that was in some ways more peaceful. Pre-telephone, pre-electricity, people go to bed when it's dark, for instance, more connection to the land. And it was really interesting learning what the landscape even was like at that time. I mean, if you go through the area today where the book takes place, there's a pond that's gone. There's a whole new road that's, it's filled in, it was a garbage dump filled in that created this thing called Lincoln Drive that goes down into the city. I mean, they intentionally had people dump their trash there for a few decades so they could build a road on it. So it had been part of a stream or a creek, I guess. So yeah, it's just really cool to be in a place and be imagining it earlier, but also you don't have to imagine it. I mean, Philadelphia is filled with so many buildings that were there when Lilli was walking the streets, in my imagination anyway. So I find that really cool too, walking through the city now and thinking, wow, that's where Lilli and Charlotte were, or,
yes. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, being so close to it, I really connected to the scenery, and I grew up, like across the street was railroad tracks from my house. So I grew up with that. And now that railroad track really doesn't even have that many trains that go on it anymore. But when I'm 53, so back in my childhood, it was a very active thing.
Yes.
So I really love how you included, because it made me think about history, was that, okay, so there were trains that were connecting different parts of the country.
Which was a huge new development. Yes.
Right. So you had that.
Suburb being built around the train stations and factories and
but then they still, because it was pre-automobiles, they're still having carriages and horses and dealing with all of that. And I love the way you depicted that, because I used to always think about that, especially in Philadelphia, when you're hearing about that there are horses all over you're thinking, okay, what exactly, how gross is that street? And you did a great job in depicting exactly what she had to deal with when she was out on the street. And another thing I loved too was money. I really got a concept of what that time frame, what money, meant. Like, what was $10? What could she get for $10 and $25? It really, I could tell you spent a lot of time researching money and how it related to her.
Yes, and that was challenging, because it's not the sort of, it's not always easy to find such specific details about the past.
Right.
So,
and that's what,
but
that's why
I felt like, of course she's going to be worrying about money a lot, So,
Right.
I liked the fact that I was able to say, now I have $4.32, and, that's going to get me this and this, but not this. And,
Yeah, and even when she's tipping a penny or 2 pennies, you realize that's not just nothing. I mean, to her, it meant a lot,
yes.
So, and she was trying, I mean, the one part of the book when she's trying to get around and she's having to count her money everywhere, and you're like, I was like going with her, like, okay, keep a hold of this much, I thought it really added to it. I loved it.
I'm glad.
And I wrote down my favorite line from the book, because I do that. I have a bunch of them, but I had to decide today which one was my absolute favorite so that we could talk about. I love, bitterness is poison, yes, but I hold a flask of it to my lips and drink. Because if anybody had a reason to be bitter, it was her. But she was aware, which is also gave her a sense of, what she was aware, what was happening, but she couldn't really stop it. So then she decides not to. And I'm like tearing up, and I thought it was great.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's fascinating how a line like that comes to you in your private moment, and that you work on over and over again, shifting one little word here or there, or changing it from a period to a semicolon or whatever, over and over again, that it goes out into the world and means something to someone. So thank you. Yeah.
Yes, and especially, exactly, because when, she says, like, the yes in the commas, I was thinking the same thing. The way you phrased it, it was like you could have said it a different way and it wouldn't have had the punch to it. But it was like, yes, like she was accepting. She was like, yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. I'm going to be bitter for a minute here.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is your first book, and everybody is loving it. The reviews on Amazon are amazing. I went back after I read it. I got it recommended to me from another author, and I'm on Facebook all the time, and I've all my author friends. They're all friends now, and they'll recommend books to me, and yours was one of them. And so I don't go on Amazon. I don't want to hear what anybody has to say, because sometimes the comments are stupid and I don't want them in my brain. But then when I go back after I've read it, and I go back and I want to see who I agree with, and I was like, wow, you have so many. People are loving this book. How does that feel? As a first-time author like this?
It feels really, really wonderful. And I worked so hard to craft every single line so that it would have this effect on people. And so if I had failed, that would be pretty devastating. That's the most rewarding thing of all, is that people are taking this ride that I've invited them onto, and they're taking it to the end, and they're moved by it. What I often will write in the front of a book is, I hope this story of Lilli and Charlotte will stay in your heart for a long time. And that's what I hope. I want it to stay with people. I want it to change people. I want it to make them more compassionate, which is what fiction is for, I think.
Right. I can't tell you, like, I read books every day, okay, because I do this every day. And so sometimes I'm book on book on book. And when I finished your book, I took hours. I was like, I'm just going to let this sit. I can't just open up another book right now. I wanted to just let it absorb it. But that is the joy of reading a book like that. Like, not being able to just pick up another book and start all. I was like, no, I'm going to enjoy this feeling of, that was a really good book.
Yes. And for me, I don't often have that feeling, so I do really treasure it.
Yeah. If you read enough books, that's just the nature of the beast. If you read enough, but then you can, when you get it, you're like, wow.
This is a treasure. This is a treasure to be saved.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
This story is going to come, is going to stay with me. And, and like you said, that was the goal. But I read or listened to every single line in this book. I did not want to miss a thing. Okay. And that's another awesome compliment, and other people said it. I wasn't the only one. When I was reading your reviews, I was like, yes, that was me. I wanted because not every book you feel that way. Some books you're like, I know this story, I can do this book in 3 hours. know.
Yeah.
But your words, that you spent so much time, it is definitely evident. It really is. And so to say that I can't say enough good things, we'll just say I can't say enough good things. But I want to hear about what you're doing next.
I am so happy that I am slowing down a little bit in terms of book events and promotion, and working on my next novel, which is a contemporary novel at this point. And it tells the story of a mother of 3 kids. 2 of them are already in college and 1 is in high school. And while they're away for the summer, she decides to, I'm not sure, I'm never sure how much to give away, because there's this.
I know.
Yeah, until I'm done. But just because but anyway, so she decides to do something drastic to see if she can save herself, save her marriage. It's basically, I think many women who have children get to a point after 20 years or 15 years, or who knows how short or long a time, I'm sure it varies, but where you kind of realize, like, wow, I have made so many sacrifices, and no one will ever actually appreciate it enough. Like, there is no way that it can be appreciated enough. There is no way I can be acknowledged enough for what I have done, hundreds of thousands of thoughtful and kind and things I have done, the hundreds of thousands of times I have put myself aside. And what do I have left now? Who am I?
Been there. Been there. And it's really interesting, because I just, right before this interview, I was talking to my son, who has 3 little girls. And, and he's my second son. And I was a single mom through most of his childhood, raising him. And he said, do you ever walk away saying this is fun? And I said, I don't know about fun. It's rewarding, but don't expect the reward necessarily. The reward is in watching him be a dad. That's rewarding, you know, but there's if you expect they're going to grow up and be 15 and say, God, you're a great dad.
The reward is holding that sweet person in your arms, or seeing them shine on stage at their recital or whatever, you know.
It's not about the thank you or the reward, But it was interesting to me, as his oldest daughter's 4. And, he's already thinking that way. But I think that he's 28. But that's
3 under 4, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but you're absolutely right, because sometimes my mom is not here, no longer with me, but think about that. Like, she never told me that there wasn't this, oh, you're done. And you're like, I'm done. And then you look around and you're like, okay, I'm done.
You're more like, I'm done. I can hardly walk.
I know. And like I said, my job disappeared.
I'll never be not tired again.
Right. And my career disappeared. So I had to create a new one, which is fun.
Right. Exactly.
Which is fun, because I like doing that too. So, but that's good. I can't wait. I mean, Janet, you are an amazing author. You don't need me to tell you that, because everybody's telling you that all over every review I've read. And I just cannot wait to see what you have next, because this book was just that dear, and so.
Well, the paperback is coming out in mid-July.
Awesome. And everybody, I will put her links. I mean, it's in Kindle. You have the other things too. It's all over. Yes. It's audio, Kindle, hardback. Large print. You can.
And then it'll get out in paperback in July. So, and I'm happy to Skype with book groups if I can.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's awesome to hear, because I really, I really love to hear when authors want to talk about it, because a lot of times they're too busy. No, I can't. I'm doing this, or So that's a great thing to put out there, because I know a lot of book groups. So
yeah, for me, talking with book groups is the most. I mean, talking with you is as good as talking with a book group. But this reminds me of talking with a book group, because people just have such interesting things to say and interesting questions, and but it's very personal. It's not like standing up in front of a crowd and giving a talk. It's much more interactional, and I like that better.
Absolutely, and the fact that we have Skype and we're able to do that, and you can interactive, and book groups are huge. I mean, that's a way people connect, and then to hear what they're getting from your writing, like,
yes.
Very
interesting.
Yes.
People, and sometimes people will ask, what happened to Clementina after the book ended, or
yes.
what happened to Nancy, and it's like, wow, interesting questions.
Right. Right. They always. That's what I mean. I totally support. I know a lot of book groups, and they are an amazing thing for an author because they keep the books alive and keep them going.
Well, and this is the democratic aspect of the book industry.
Yes.
Publishers decide what books they're going to pour their money into, and then there are readers, and readers can change the equation for an author, obviously.
Yes. And I am so happy that
women in book groups are powerful.
That's right. And I'm so happy. Like I said, Facebook, in that sense, I love Facebook because I can connect with all of you guys and you suggest books to me. And I am so happy that I got to meet you and that I was given your book because it was life-changing and I loved every line in it. So anyway, well, show us your cover one more time so everybody can see that cover. I mean, it is amazing.
So this is actually based on a painting that's at the Art Institute of Chicago. And the book designer found the painting, and then he darkened it quite a bit. Here's the audiobook, which has a lighter version of the painting.
Oh, yeah.
But he darkened it so that it would, the type would show up on it and so on. But it's by an American painter named Gary Melchers, and he probably based it on a drawing that he did when he was living in Holland in 1882 or 1883, which is pretty cool because Lilli's relatives come from the Netherlands, and the book takes place in 1883, and her baby has red hair, and they're wearing plain clothes, which would have been what a Quaker would have worn. So it's just really quite an amazing.
That is amazing because
I found that painting. Yeah,
absolutely, because I thought that it had because of your book, because it does really depict what I pictured her looking like.
Yes.
So
yeah, it was lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
My pleasure.
And when you're done with your other book and you want to talk about it, please let me know. I've already signed up. I want to know what you're doing. I can't wait.
I'll put you on the short list.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a great day, Jen.
All right. Take care. Be well. Bye.